Joshua, son of Nun, was Moses' assistant and a trusted companion. He was known as the second Moses. Moses led the Israelites out of slavery, whereas Joshua led them into the Promised Land. Moses parted the Red Sea, while Joshua parted the Jordan River to allow the Israelites to cross. Moses recognized Joshua's leadership potential and appointed him as the commander of the Israelite army. Throughout their journey, Moses mentored and guided Joshua, preparing him to take on the role of leader after his passing. The relationship between Moses and Joshua was one of mentorship, trust, and shared vision. Joshua accompanied Moses during key moments, such as receiving the commandments on Mount Sinai. Moses laid his hands on Joshua at God's instruction, symbolizing the transfer of leadership and authority. Numbers 27 verses 18 to 21. The 12 spies were 12 Israelite leaders who were sent by Moses to scout out the land of Canaan for 40 days. The 10 spies returned with a negative report, exaggerating the difficulty of the task at hand. Joshua and Caleb were among the 12 men who explored the land. They agreed with part of what was said, but instead of instilling fear, they said, "If the Lord is pleased with us, he will lead us into that land." God appointed Joshua to be the one who would lead the Israelites into the Promised Land after Moses' death. Joshua sent 2 spies to gather intelligence on the most effective way to launch an attack against the city. Rahab helped these 2 Israelite spies by hiding them on the roof. She then threw a rope out of her window for the spies to use to escape. In return for her assistance, the spies promised to spare Rahab and her family when the Israelites conquered Jericho. He led him across the Jordan River, conquered Jericho, and led the Israelites in various military campaigns to secure the land. The city of Jericho was a heavily fortified city with massive walls that seemed impenetrable. The Israelites had to march around the city for 6 days, and on the 7th day it must be 7 times, and they should shout as per God's directives. The walls of Jericho miraculously tumbled down, allowing the Israelites to conquer the city. After the victory at Jericho, God commanded that the spoils of the city were to be devoted to him and not to be taken by any individual. Achan took some of the forbidden items, including silver, gold, and a beautiful Babylonian garment, and hid them in his tent. When the Israelites went on to attack the city of Ai, they suffered a surprising defeat. Joshua sought guidance from God, who revealed that there was sin in the camp, which had caused the defeat. The Israelites were winning the battle against the Amorites, and in a strategic move. Joshua asked God for a miracle to extend the daylight so they could completely defeat their enemies. In response to Joshua's prayer, God made the sun and moon stand still, giving the Israelites extended daylight to achieve victory. This event is commonly referred to as the miracle of the sun and moon. Exodus chapter 17 verse 12 mentions that during the battle between the Israelites and the Amalekites, Moses stood on a hill and held up his hands in prayer to God. As long as his hands were raised, the Israelites were winning the battle. However, when Moses' hands grew tired and began to lower, the Amalekites started to prevail. In order to support Moses and ensure the victory of the Israelites, Aaron and Hur held up Moses' hands to keep them raised until the battle was won. The land was divided among all the tribes, ensuring that each received an inheritance based on their size and needs. Joshua had an extraordinary encounter with a man holding a sword in his hand. This individual was prepared for battle, and his appearance was threatening enough that Joshua asked him if he was on Israel's side or Jericho's side. The man said he was on neither side. Rather, he told Joshua that he was the commander of the army of the Lord. He was there not to join Joshua's forces but to lead them. Joshua's story ends with his final address to the people before his death. He asked him to choose whom they would serve if the things of God were not appealing to them. "But as for me and my household, we have made up our minds to serve the Lord." Joshua chapter 24 verse 15. He reminds them of God's faithfulness and urges them to continue serving and obeying him. Joshua's story provides guidance and inspiration for our own lives, encouraging us to have faith, be courageous, follow God's commands, lead with responsibility, persevere, seek unity, and trust in God's faithfulness. His unwavering faith in God allowed him to lead the Israelites into the Promised Land. Joshua demonstrated great courage and boldness as he led the Israelites into battles against powerful enemies. His example reminds us to be courageous and not to be afraid to face the obstacles that come our way. Joshua's obedience to God's instructions teaches us the significance of obeying God's word and following his guidance in our lives. His ability to inspire and guide others teaches us the importance of effective leadership and taking responsibility for the tasks entrusted to us. Joshua's journey to conquer the Promised Land was difficult, but he persevered and remained steadfast in his mission. It reminds us to stay determined and endure through difficulties, knowing that God is with us. Joshua emphasized the significance of unity among the Israelites. God's faithful best can be trusted even amid uncertainty. Thanks for passing by. Please click the like and subscribe buttons.